Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Today we're going to be talking about AEW Collision, emanating from Lexington, Kentucky, Saturday night, 19th of August. I'm joined this week, as usual, by my good friends Parker Hamlet and Gary Joe. How are you doing, boys?
Gary, you want to tell first?
Yeah, sure, why not? Doing pretty well. How ironic for a great milestone for my page, Honor the Elite, because knowing that I surpassed 3 years, the 3-year anniversary on that page, truly thankful because I would not be a part of great opportunities such as they have always wanted me to be here. To be a part of this great show to discuss the Collision with my great pals here. So, but aside from that, I don't want to sound like political Joe Biden here. I'm doing pretty well there, fellas. How are you?
Sorry for the audio listeners and people watching. It's going to be the new normie for me. As you guys know, my name is Parker Hamlin. I'm a Collision guy. Ready to collide with you guys. Talk about Saturday. On the road right now, headed to a concert in Maryland. Yeah, Maryland. Great show last night. I'm ready to get into it. Two of my good lads here. Let's do it, guys.
Yeah, and the show started off in a real hot segment for me. I thought it was absolutely great. We got Samoa Joe's theme hit, and he made his way to the ring, and his opponent, the Golden Vampire, was waiting for him. However, it wasn't who Joe expected it to be. Parker, you want to do the reveal and let us know your thoughts on this opening segment, man?
I had a feeling you'd throw it to me first, and I'm kind of glad you did. Marked out for this hard. As you guys know, I gave Joe some shit last week when I was at my Collision taping. I may or may not have talked about that on the show. Obviously Joe wanting his rematch with CM Skunk, and understandably so. You definitely get why. Little roll-up victory. Them kind of reaching into the catacombs there of Ring of Honor and giving us a nice little TV classic and another, of course, really lengthy Collision main event. We had another lengthy one here last night. I thought the reveal was great. I mean, I knew it was Punk almost immediately, pulling his best Goldust impersonation and ripping the mask off for the reveal, hit Joe with the GTS, which I saw a lot of people being very critical of, which I'd love to see any of them try to pick up Samoa Joe and hit him with any form of a go to sleep. That is a big fella, and that big fella is going to be slapping him around at Wembley because they made it official, and I am very much excited for it. I got to ask you guys, though, just kind of as we circumnavigate this whole thing, or at least, this part of the show, are you guys concerned about this match, excited for this match? I have a listener of the show, one of my cousins, and he was talking about how slow these two are in ring nowadays, and how this is just going to be kind of a wrestle-y kind of match and a little bit too old school for his taste, which I respect that because, there's different ages, different generations. How do you guys think the match quality is going to be at Wembley? Because, I mean, we're now seeing like the card kind of take form, and because of that, I don't know how much time these two are going to get. Are you guys think this is going to add to that legacy of Punk and Joe? And what did you guys think of the segment?
Well, personally, I thought this was a great segment and great setup. Punk's got quite a distinct physique, which I kind of didn't realise until this happened.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I knew that was Punk before it happened, but I really enjoyed it. I thought Joe
it's like when he had that
GTS
in the Indies. Same thing. When he ran out there in the independent circuit, I knew it was him then too.
Yeah. Well, Punk obviously delivered the GTS, and I thought Joe sold the GTS great. And as you say, he's a big guy to do it on, so I don't see any problem with that. In terms of the match at Wembley, I'll pass to you, Gary Joe, but I really enjoyed the match at Collision, and this is definitely the type of match that I enjoy as a wrestling fan. I kind of understand that to some fans and younger viewers, maybe this isn't for them, and they'll prefer perhaps the Stadium Stampede or the tag match. But this for me is going to be probably a classic, I would imagine. What's your opinion, Gary?
So before we talk about the opening segment, let me just talk about the match itself. I see what they're doing here is because of the AEW fans, strictly AEW fans. You know, they're the hardcore of the nostalgic, excited fans. They love the flashback feel. They like the history of pro wrestling. And to me, watching this growing up with Joe and Punk, honestly, I thought it was one of my favorite feuds with ROH. Knowing that they're going to be in front of, I'm gonna round it up to maybe 82,000 for that Wembley crowd. I think it's a treat for them. I mean, let me just say this: knowing the guy that I very much love, Samoa Joe, is going to have a match in front of that ruckus crowd is just an amazing accomplishment for Joe. 3 years ago, the guy was wearing a fucking, sorry there, Dave. The guy was
We're not going to
wearing
edit that out. It's okay.
the guy was wearing a plastic poncho, okay? And then here he is 3 years later going to be in a great highlighted match. I'm happy for Joe for that. People can say what they want about Phil Brooks because of what he said, but again, I think it's just all, people just, taking it seriously. Anyway, good for Punk. You know, he gets to be a part of the show as well. I'm just very happy for the both men, honestly. More so Joe, but as the segment itself, I've been wanting to talk to you and Parker about this for the longest time all morning. I've been biting my frickin' tongue. Let's just cover this up right now. JR, he said that, he have signed, Edge and Christian at the same time, guys. And then another thing that I've noticed, Christian did a spear. I know I'm going a little ahead here, but Christian did a spear to Darby Allin last night. When was the last time Christian used that? And the reason why I'm bringing this up already is because how interesting that Mr. Punky Brewster was wearing the same getup that Edge and Christian wore. Gosh,
Conquistadors, was it?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a nice little Easter egg. I didn't even realize.
Same, man. I didn't clock that.
I love this about AEW so much is they tease the die-hard wrestling fans when something possibly could happen. Like CM Punk, when he was wearing shoes, AC on it. A couple weeks later, Adam Cole debuted at All Out.
Are you saying we may be seeing Edge then imminently in the near future?
I do. And I don't mean to make myself sound like a wrestling mark here, but, people saying, well, Edge, he said that, his contract is up at the end of September, but people need to remember, wrestlers can buy out their contracts, whatever it may be. I'm a big Edge head. I'm a huge mark for Adam Copeland. I want him to be the rated R superstar. I don't want him to I don't know, just everything that happened on Collision with the teasers makes me believe you're going to see Edge at Wembley. It just something is really, really telling me that's going to happen.
We did discuss it at Dynamite in the week, and we did say, I did say that I could see it happening, but I just perhaps didn't expect it to happen so soon. But as you say, with that conquistador, we could definitely take that as an Easter egg, as Parker said.
Well, I mean, you have to think about something. I do agree with Gary because if you really think about it, I mean, think about another callback. When Punk was out there talking to the crowd right after he came back, they were chanting yes, and he literally told the crowd, "Hey, you're gonna be a little bit more patient for that one." Wrong guy.
Yes.
So I mean, Punk is very involved with decision making in AEW. I'm pretty sure he is he of course is very good at breaking that fourth wall and kind of being good at foreshadowing things. And AEW, in my opinion, doesn't make any promises that they can't keep. So I really don't think that they would mention anything on their programming that would not come to fruition in some type of capacity. And you have to think about it. We've got Christian in a prominent role on television right now. And, now we're seeing Easter eggs. So, like you just said, I mean, I think the writing's on the wall. I don't know when it's going to happen, but you can't outrule it at this point, especially with everything going on with the contract situation. They're saying it's up at the end of September. I mean, who knows? I mean, could he buy it out? Sure. I think he's going to go out the right way with WWE. But if you really look at it from, a wrestling purist standpoint, though, both of those guys who debuted, even Punk, everybody who came to AEW in 2021 did not have to come to AEW. They could have cut a check. They could have went somewhere else. They could have easily been set for life. But why did Daniel Bryan come to come to AEW? Because for the love of the game. Adam Cole for the love of the game. CM Punk for the love of the game. And I have a hard time believing, with all of his friends working there, that Edge would not come to AEW for the love of the game. And I don't know about you guys. I was talking to somebody. They made a really good comparison. They said this is very reminiscent of the Jon Moxley situation where, WWE didn't try to keep it a secret. They let everybody know this was it for him. But, I mean, Adam Copeland's not going to come out directly and say, hey, I'm going to AEW. But if he is who I think he is and his legacy is what I think it is, in my opinion, I don't really see a better way to end your career than in AEW with your best friend. I mean, and you can call me a mark. That's completely fine. I mean, I watch AEW. But at the end of the day, I think him ultimately ending up in AEW is kind of a foregone conclusion at this point. Just kind of seeing how this entire thing's playing down in WWE, because they're not really. It also kind of feels like Daniel Bryan when he left WWE. He had his loser leave SmackDown match, and it wasn't this big blow off grand finale. But they alluded to the fact that this was gonna be the last time you see him for a while. So I don't know, man. I think it's much more of a possibility than people are making it out to be. But obviously that comes from a lot of bias against and tribalism against AEW. But I mean, why wouldn't he go to AEW is the better question.
Well, really exciting, proposition. Go ahead, Gary.
Sorry, Dave, I didn't mean to cut you off, dude.
No, it's not.
But no, it just when I read reports, I don't just read a sentence and be like, oh, well, yep, no, that's it. No. You got to read the whole report. You got to hear what the wrestler is saying when, whatever the situation may be. Edge just said this was his final match with his WWE contract. WWE contract, not his final match of his career. And
he said the post-match promo. It wasn't goodbye. It's see you later, basically. Yeah. I mean, he's already alluding to it.
Thank you, Parker.
He's already alluding to
it.
Well, Gary, so I'm all down for this, and we'll talk about it a little bit more as we go through it, and we've got a lot of news to cover off at the end, so we'll get the Collision train back on the track for now, but that's exciting news coming from Gary Joe. Up next on Collision, my favourite part of the show, and my favourite, I think this is my favourite faction in wrestling right now, and that's Bullet Club Gold, the Bang Bang Gang, and we had Jay White up against Dalton Castle in what for me was a great match. Possibly the match of the night. The main event was a pretty good match too, but I'm a big fan of Dalton Castle and the boys. I think they bring something very different to the show. Always very entertaining. Dalton Castle hitting some great suplexes during this. Parker, we'll throw to you. What did you make of the opening proper match? The first match was a bit of a no contest. What did you make of this, bud?
I think it's kind of funny when in the past, whenever anybody would come on AEW television, the first thing you'd always hear is, oh man, Tony Khan's got to sign this guy. And I found myself in that habit of saying that while watching Dalton Castle, needing to remember, obviously, he's under contract with Ring of Honor. But I mean, you talk about somebody who gets the most out of their TV time every single time they are on the screen. That is Dalton Castle. I mean, that guy exudes charisma. I think he can honestly have a way more prominent role than he has right now. And I think, obviously, he's going to make more and more of the opportunity he's given. And I was really happy to see that. He hit that really sweet, I know you know exactly what sequence I'm talking about. Yeah. If I wasn't in traffic. It was like, maybe it was a DDT or something. I mean, the crowd popped really hard for it. I think you know exactly what sequence I'm talking about. But nonetheless, I thought he did amazing. And I'll tell you my biggest takeaway from this match. You can have Jay White on TV every week. And the biggest takeaway is, if Tony Khan does lose that bidding war in 2024, you've already got someone you can plug and play, and I think they'll be just fine. I mean, really, like, Jay White knows how to pander to the camera, the audience. I mean, there's really ultimately no weakness in his game whatsoever. And I think they're grooming him to be that next big mega heel. And I'm like you and I talked about with the inception of Collision, like, you know, this is why we were so excited for the show, because U.S. audiences could be introduced to a guy like Jay White. And now he's just getting to the point where he's just starting to flex. And a lot like you, I definitely agree with the sentiment that they're easily the most entertaining stable in probably professional wrestling right now, in my opinion. And I like I said, a year from now, this is probably going to be the hottest stable in pro wrestling. And in regards to the promo that they cut, obviously we got a little bit more clarification on what's going to happen at Wembley with Allin. They're taking on, I want to say, Kota Ibushi, Hangman Adam Page, and Kenny Omega. So it's kind of an old Bullet Club versus new Bullet Club kind of thing. And, you know, it kind of reminded me that, you know, while this Wembley card, and this is a little bit of a hot take, is kind of sloppy and jam-packed, it's going to be about the moments. And I'm very excited to see Kenny and Jay in the ring together. I want to say first time going head-to-head in any AEW ring. So, I mean, really nothing but positive marks coming out of this segment.
Yeah, they obviously Jay White grabs the microphone at the end, alludes to the Elite, talks about the match coming up. It says that people forget, or it's a misconception that the Elite is the best thing that came out of Bullet Club, and it's actually Bullet Club Gold.
I love that.
I totally agree with you, Parker. They can all talk. They're very good in the ring, all four of them. Which we saw then in the next match that was set up straight away. Juice and the Guns were up against the Iron Savages.
We predicted it. We predicted it.
Yes, yeah, we did.
Iron Savages right back on TV.
Yeah, but Gary Joe, what's your overall take on both of these matches, on Bullet Club Gold and on Dalton Castle?
You know, this Peacock is more entertaining than something else.
Sorry to interrupt, Gary. I just wanted to make this quick point. Although there's the splattering of comedy in what he does, it doesn't detract from his overall presentation. I can still take him very seriously. Obviously, he's a former Ring of Honor world champion as well, but he doesn't seem a comedy act for me. So, like what Parker was saying about a bigger spot on the card, I have to agree.
Yeah, if I could be totally honest here, you know, when you're seeing, because, you know, we're going to compare apples and oranges with Dalton Castle. So I remember when I saw the match get announced with Orange Cassidy against Pac at Revolution 2020, I was like, you're joking, right? Pac deserves better than this. Here I am 3 years later. I am the biggest fan of Orange Cassidy. You know, I feel you need some type of character, not a very serious character, you know, if you're not going to be a heel. So that really works in Dalton Castle's arsenal. I think he's just a damn good talent overall. His match against, you know, this match against Jay White, to me, honestly, I do agree with you, Dave. This was actually my favorite match of the night. Yeah. Castle really doesn't get the credit that he deserves either. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people love him, but when he's in that ring, it's just, he's so good. As for Jay White, wholeheartedly agree, you know, with both statements about Jay. One thing that I really like what's going to happen for next weekend is, sure, everybody, including myself, you know, we did want to see Kenny Omega and Willow Ospreay. We did want that. However,
I definitely wanted that.
Yeah.
But I think AEW did something right here, and that's actually giving us Kenny Omega and Jay White in the same ring. Those two alone are gonna effing kill it. You know, next weekend. I really can't wait for it. As you know, just for the wrestling last night, like I said, great match. And then the whole thing with Iron Savages, I really like them. And I really am happy that they're getting the TV time. This is why I love Collision. It actually tries to involve much people as you can get. You know, it's progressing storylines, and, you know, if you're not going to do that brand split, which I'm glad that they're not doing, continue the stories, and that's what they're doing here. Yeah. Bullet Club Gold as a faction, man, I do agree with you guys. I could see 2024 being, I think they're going to be in more of a promising role than BCC. as the most popular faction. Maybe I'm going to really speak hypothetical here. Maybe we could see Bullet Club Gold versus BCC in a match. Maybe the Blood and Guts match next year. Who knows? I'm wishful, like, fantasy booking here, but hey, I'm just a mark. Remember that. But yeah, what a really good showing. And the cardboard cutout of Jay White, I need to get that because I don't know why, but that's just really entertaining for me.
Yeah. Well, Bear Boulder in this match as well. And I absolutely agree with you on the Iron Savages. I hope that in coming weeks and months, they can pick up some wins. And I would love to see them up against the House of Black at some point for the Trios title.
Yeah, it's a great addition to the Trios division. These guys can pick up steam.
He hit a double end of days, which I've never seen that before.
Oh, God, me neither. I popped so hard for that.
But it was Bullet Club that won in both of these matches. Obviously, Jay picked up the win with a Blade Runner over Dalton Castle, and Juice picked up the pin for the rest of the team up against the Iron Savages. So really, really strong showing from the faction this week. In talks of strong showing, particularly on the microphone this week, was Ricky Starks, who came out and he said that it wasn't a 30-day ban, it was a 4-week ban. So I don't know how that plays into how he can, when he can start competing again. I think there's probably something in that little detail. He joined Big Bill this week, which is nothing more than a squash match, really, up against Derek Neal. Parker, what do you make of Ricky Starks? What are your thoughts on this transition to this temporary manager role, and where do you think it's going?
I got 3 words for you. How you doing? Because we got a little Enzo Cass action going on here with Ricky kind of backing up Big Bill here, and it was kind of some nostalgic feeling to it because back when Big Bill was in WWE, he was of course a part of the iconic tag team Enzo and Cass, who were just extremely over, and there was a period there where they were considering pushing Big Bill as a singles competitor, and I was very high on him having a mouthpiece, and it's not because he can't talk, but it's really just because of just charisma that, at the time Enzo Amore exuded, and it just really put everybody over big time. And I hope as these 4 weeks progress, I don't know how all this stuff's going to play out in regards to time frame, but hopefully they get as much mileage out of this as humanly possible. I will say from a segment standpoint, it was kind of lacking. It felt a little routine in a way. Like I wanted them to talk a little bit more. I wanted there to be a little bit more personality behind it. Because, obviously the entire MO of this is I'm still want my presence to be felt. Yeah. I kind of want him to put over Big Bill a lot more because a lot like you guys, I'm very big on Big Bill, no pun intended. And I think he's a great worker. Just the amount of work he's put in, just the copious amount of time, just get his body right, get his mind right, and really turn his life around is really admirable. And I think his body of work in AEW has been absolutely fantastic so far. And he can just be one of those other big, beefy guys they can just kind of lean on, whenever they need a big fella to hop in the ring. And I don't know, I'm a big proponent of Big Bill, and I'm happy to see a guy with Ricky Starks with him. Because, it's not going to hurt him, This isn't a situation that's going to hurt Big Bill, but I guess I'm kind of eager to see where this goes from, like, a storytelling standpoint. I hope this isn't one of those things that's over before it ever really starts, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed that we're not going to be getting more Big Bill and Brian Cage at the minute, but I suppose
good tag team.
Yeah, there's only so many times they want them to be beaten, so maybe they can rekindle that at some point down the line. But Gary Joe, your thoughts on Ricky Starks and Big Bill?
I am with Parker 100% on this. Unfortunately, the segment didn't do it for me this week, but next week I'm sure they're going to be on that pre-taping of Collision, which, quick reminder everybody, they're not going to be live next week, so be aware of spoilers. Anyway, so I'm happy for Big Bill being in this role in some capacity, just because the guy, a couple years ago was battling with mental health, and it was a very scary incident, and I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The guy was in a dark place, and here he is, a couple years later, he's in a very great state of mind, very happy.
Shape of his life.
Yeah.
He looks incredible.
Yeah. He really does, man. This is what I love about AEW is, if there's times where this talent needs to disappear for a while to focus on their mental health, Tony will grant that.
Yeah.
But with these two together, I'm not gonna lie to you. At first, when he says, I'm gonna bring a war to you, I'm not gonna lie, I really thought it was gonna be Wardlow. I miss Wardlow so bad, man. I'm one of the fan of his. I hope he gets back into
we could do a whole pod about Wardlow. Oh my god, that's a hot topic right there.
Yeah.
So
this
segment was okay for what it was.
Yeah. Well, the next segment kind of was our women's division segment for the week. We had not only a great match, Willow Nightingale up against Diamante, but after that, I'm going to throw to you, Parker, after we discuss this match, because we had another great interview segment with Tony Storm. But first, Parker, what did you make of the match? I know you're a big Statlander fan. I think you're a big Willow fan as well. How do you feel this is going? And what do you think the match is that they're building towards? Is it the tag match? Is it the TBS title match for Mercedes, or is it going to be Willow?
Just another, sometimes how do I word this? Sometimes it really doesn't take that much to make a huge impact in regards to storytelling, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we had a very simple, tried and true classic formula here of you had last week the two heels getting the dirty win. And, this week you have the two triumphant baby faces overcome the odds and pick up a huge win. And it, of course, built up momentum for both of them. And, it's just week to week storytelling. And it's just the cohesiveness that we've wanted for the women's division for so long. Just even show that you can formulate things from week to week, for God's sake. And we're starting to see that. I've seen people kind of alluding to the fact that, Collision is kind of the women's work rate show already. I mean, Tony Storm's getting a significant amount of TV time. You've got, this tag match 2 weeks in a row. Women are absolutely showing out. Willow Nightingale showing why she's one of the biggest and best baby faces. Same thing with Chris Statlander. Like I said, home run, TBS title run so far. And, of course, Mercedes and the heels did their job too, and they did it well. I thought this was a great segment. I thought the match was good. It was high-paced. I want to say it was you, David, last week that said it was kind of sloppy last week. I think they definitely made up for that. And I thought this was a very, very good segment. They had a specific story, a very simple, story that's as old as time as itself, kind of getting your get back. And I thought it was fun and a really good utilization of women on TV.
Yeah, it wasn't so much the match last week was sloppy. I thought the match was great. It was the finish that was a little bit overly complicated. But this week, Willow hits the Dr. Bomb for the clean 1, 2, 3. I prefer that as a finish. I understand the need for the heelish type antics. But yeah, when it's not executed well, it's just noticeable for me personally. But Gary Joe, what did you make of this? And I know you're a big Chris Statlander fan.
Oh, yeah, am I ever a big fan? So this match was actually just fantastic overall. Diamante, great,
she was bumping her ass off, dude. Yeah. Oh my God.
She really was, dude. I wholeheartedly agree with that. It felt like she actually really meshed really well with Willow. And I think that's what made it a very good match. From when you're seeing the differences in comparison where you're seeing, I don't know how much taller Willow is compared to Diamante, but either way, that did not really ruin anything. Seeing Mercedes and Chris Statlander getting a little bit in their, element as well when the match was going on, I thought it was awesome. Love the finish, of course.
I mean, Diamante is like Zelina Vega, but actually talented. It's impressive. She can actually wrestle.
Well, the good thing as well with Diamante, I'm sure she's been through some tough things in a private life, which were in the wrestling media a while ago. I think she had a house fire or something. She lost all her belongings. So not only, like you said about Big Bill finding this home in AEW, it's great that talented performers like Diamante can be brought into AEW to strengthen.
And it's roster. David, it's like what Cody said too. I mean, Cody did an interview recently where he talked about the fact that, like, actually, I don't think it was Cody. I think it was the Young Bucks, where Swerve had him on their podcast, and he kind of emphasized the fact that, you know, the biggest, like, blessing about AEW is the fact that they're providing so many jobs for these extremely talented people. Because, I mean, obviously the wrestling business up to before AEW's inception was just completely monotonous. We've been through just awful struggles in their lives, just like everybody else, getting jobs, getting chances to showcase their talent. And, you know, people that demonize that and have an issue with it, I think that's more about them than it's about there being an actual alternative for these performers. So, great point by you guys.
Definitely, man. And what did, Parker, what did you make of the Toni Storm segment, the interview with Alexa?
Oh, geez, man. It's like, she's on a hot streak, man. Every time she's on the TV, I mean, she's more spruced up every time you see her. And, you know, it's almost like she ups the ante and the thematicness, or that's a word, the theatrics, excuse me, of each segment every single time. I mean, she's really dipping into her Marilyn Monroe character. And I tell you, man, it's absolutely entertaining. I want to ask you, what was your favorite part about this segment? Because you sound a little cheeky about it like I was. I was absolutely eating it up.
I absolutely loved it. I love the fact that she pretended that she didn't recognize Lexi, and she said the person that interviewed me last week was very rude. I love that line. I love the little shoe throw. I think it was a shoe at the end again, or a bag. It was something that she threw at her. I think she's doing her best work. I think she's so good on the microphone. We're really seeing the best of Toni Storm. The only thing that intrigues me really more is does she set off on a new path away from the Outcasts, or does she stay as part of the Outcasts? I suppose that's the only question I've got. Gary Jones.
You would hope.
Carry on, Parker.
No, I mean, you would hope that that's the case, because, I mean, you look at this from like an overarching character arc perspective. I mean, there hasn't been much direction in that cast storyline. And if Toni Storm's trying to this, honest, you know, it makes me kind of sad that it's not on her anymore because of good character. But it's really the character without her losing titles. So, and, you know, obviously had to happen for the other day. And in this instance, he's wearing, I mean, he's an MVP, but the career is just absolutely stellar. And the cost is the Outcast, and I don't but yeah, Gary, what did you think of all that?
Gary, what were your thoughts on it?
So I can't say enough about, you know, with Toni Storm. She is just really, really. I think this is the Toni Storm that we should have saw like months ago. I mean, it's just a very entertaining piece for her. It really fits her image a lot. So that's what I love about Toni Storm with this, and just throwing the shoe every week. I would love to see that every single time. As for the thought about splitting up these social outcasts, I personally hope they don't do that, because, you know, it really keeps Saraya.
Did you say the social outcasts?
Did I really say that? My bad.
That marks me, because wasn't that group in WWE with Heath Slater and all them?
I think I meant the Outcast, whatever. Jeez.
The social outcast, one that like Bo Dallas and
I thought about all those dorks immediately
Heath
when you said that. Yeah.
I think it was four of them.
Sorry, Gary.
Dude, I'm glad that you caught that. That is the botch of the day right there. And I will say, you better believe what I'm saying with my statement, okay?
Oh my goodness. Jesus.
We're good. Wow, that really flew past my head. But anyway, I think this is I don't want them to be split up as a team. You know, it just they really work well together. They really, really do. And like, let's say if Saraya goes on her own, I'm sorry, but I don't think she could really stand out alone, in my opinion.
It'd be interesting if they pull the trigger with Saraya in the title at Wembley, and then we'll
they're going to.
Yeah, and we'll get Toni Storm's reaction from that. So there's a lot of good stuff that can happen there as well. A lot of interesting storytelling. But moving on to the next match of the night, it was another squash match. Powerhouse Hobbs was up against Kevin Fu. He seemed to have I think he's quite, on the indie scene, he's quite well known. He's part of a tag team. It was my first time seeing him compete. It was kind of it was a squash match, wasn't it? At the end of it, he put on Miro's finish of the game over, which then we saw Miro on the screen responding to the challenge that Hobbs had set last week. And All Out, we're going to get those two big guys going at it. Parker, is that a match that you want to see at All Out? Are you glad that it's on All Out? Would you rather it be at All In? What do you think of that match, bud?
Man, I just know if Vince did watch AEW, his rocks would be getting off watching this stuff. Because let me tell you, you got two big, sweaty men just going at it hardcore. And I love it. Yeah. I mean, personally, I thought the segment was fantastic. I love kind of the shit talk during the match by Powerhouse, kind of saying, where's Miro? Where's the Redeemer? They're really honing in on that as kind of a plot point, and I think it's really effective. I think Hobbs is really selling it and making Miro kind of feel like a huge deal which is honestly very impressive due to the fact that, he wasn't really on our TV screen until the inception of Collision. And, kind of seeing the metamorphosis of Miro's character in general. Like, you really look at the whole Redeemer concept, and, he goes on this huge, absolutely excellently produced post-match segment where he talks about, he's godless, brings up Lana as per usual. And then I think he had a sick line at the end. I mean, I popped for it kind of like I did last week with that Gunn Club line where he said something about, I know you don't have a God because you pray to me or something like that. And just Miro's delivery was just stellar in this segment. And I'm going to be honest with you, man, at All Out, this might be my most anticipated match that's been announced so far. And I say that because, I think Hobbs is a great worker. You get him away from that shitty TMZ gimmick that he's doing, and I think this guy can be a legitimate monster. I mean, this was a situation where you didn't have all those dorks outside of the ring helping him out and assisting him. This was just about him kicking the shit out of somebody and calling out another guy of who's his pedigree, and iron sharpens iron. So I just hope that from a booking perspective, because I like to say Tony's more of a promoter than he is a booker, that he lets these two guys just go at it and showcase what they both can do. And I don't really think anybody loses here. So for the second week in a row, this was probably my favorite segment on the show.
Yeah, the thing I'm enjoying about AEW at the minute is not only the advances they're making with the booking of the women's division. I think in recent weeks that's been really good. It's been a focus. It's been something that they've wanted to improve, but also the booking of big men. I mean, we've talked about it on this show before, that perhaps sometimes AEW hasn't done a great job in the past with big guys, and we've talked about Lance Archer and others. But in recent weeks, we've had great showings from Brian Cage, Big Bill, Miro, Powerhouse Hobbs. It feels like, as you say quite often, Gary, Tony Khan really does listen to the criticism or areas that can be improved, and great.
And that's what good leaders do.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what good leaders do.
Yeah. What's your take on that, Gary?
What you said word for word, both of you, was spot on the money. There's really not much I can say on that, but with the match being announced, for All Out, listen, okay, when I heard months ago that they were going to do All In and then All Out from a week apart, I'm thinking to myself, Tony, I love you. I don't know if you're going to make it work. I don't know. But the two matches that have been made official is technically already storytelling, and it's we could say this word all the time, it's kind of poetic, right? So with Hobbs and Miro for this match, I do agree with you, Dave. Tony needs to focus on those big men, and he's doing that. Hobbs, to me, is one of the pieces that I want to see grow. Get away from like what Parker said, get away from the whole TMZ thing. Like,
yeah, it's
just not working for you, man. Like, but going up against Miro, damn, that's going to be one amazing match. When that got announced, of course, I got wrapped up in comments for what people say, and amazingly, a lot of people were very positive on this one. So just I just love it because Miro's back into the mix too, and I actually don't know if Miro's going to win that, like at All Out for this match.
And honestly, that's where I was going to go next. Obviously, we need to move on here in a second, but where do you guys see them going with who wins this? Because I mean, you can make a legitimate argument that both of these guys really need this win. I mean, Miro, honestly, really hasn't recovered since losing Bryan Danielson in Full Gear that odd amount of time ago. And Powerhouse Hobbs is kind of a guy that's picking up steam now. But I mean, how do you guys kind of see this playing out? Because it's a situation where I love the matchup. I think those two guys contrast each other really well, but at the same time, what direction you go with the narrative and still give the audience kind of a satisfying conclusion to it,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll go with Miro just because he's been out for so long to kind of bring him back, and then his first kind of featured match on a big card like All Out with Hobbs. I think it will be Miro that goes over. But what I'm really more interested in really is the manner in how they do it and how they protect Hobbs, because Hobbs can't keep losing all these big feuds. Obviously, he was never going to have the TNT title forever. He was going to lose it, but it wasn't a particularly long run when we've looked at other runs in wrestling at the minute. Maybe you mentioned Lana during the promo. Maybe we get her and she plays into the finish somehow. In saying that, Miro's positioned as the face and Hobbs is the heel. So I think they go with Miro, but I don't know how they do it. Gary Joe, what's your thoughts on that, buddy?
This is what I love about this match. It could really go 50-50 in my opinion. You know, me as a fan of both men, excited for the match. This might be unpopular, but I think they should go with Hobbs a little bit. Give that younger generation a good win, and then maybe even if it's a cheating tactic to further the storyline, and then that way, no pun intended here, Miro does in fact get his redemption down the road if they progress the story. TK really has that mentality, which I love him for. He really lets his hometown people that he's brought in into big wins, more than former WWE talents. But that's how I would do it. But in all reality, something tells me I do agree with you, Dave. Miro does need that win on a very great big pay-per-view. And
the only reason I bring it up, is because I'm scared we're in a situation here where we have these two guys showcase their talent for 15, 20 minutes, and then you have some stupid bullshit TMZ crew interference finish, and it almost immediately evaporates all the good that these two guys do in the ring. Whoever it is needs to come out of this prominently with a win. If not, I just feel like it's going to be kind of an afterthought. You know what I mean? I just don't want to see these two men, kind of get the lightning taken away from them, because I already know they're going to do magic in the ring. I just hope they don't go with the lazy finish here. Let one of these Titans come out of this strong. It's just a matter of which horse you're willing to pick,
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think on any given night, this match could go either way. I think that's the perception of the fans as well. Perhaps Miro picks up the win. If they had this match at All In and All Out, they'd win one each. The only thing to play devil's advocate a little bit, and I know all three of us want Hobbs to move away from QT and his crew, but if they were to get involved,
it's to protect them.
Yeah, if they get involved and that protects Miro, Miro's got John Morrison or Johnny TV. He's got Aaron Solo. He's got QT himself for some ready-made opposition for Miro to run through on the next few weeks of television. So perhaps they could do something like that. But I'm with you guys. I would like a definitive win and a clean match.
In AEW's defense, too, when it comes to the pay-per-views, TK really doesn't book so much shenanigans.
No,
either,
agreed.
So, I mean, I will say that in AEW's defense.
Yeah. Well, the main event this week, guys, is Darby Allin up against Christian Cage. Christian Cage obviously parading as the TNT champion, although Luchasaurus is the TNT champion.
The unofficial TNT champion.
Yeah. I know, Parker, you love this match. There was a lot of near falls. The spot at the end when Christian did the sunset flip powerbomb and the spear for the 2 count, I thought there was so much good in this match. What was it about this match that you enjoyed, and how did you see the finish?
Honestly, I'm a huge wrestling fan in general. I enjoy most forms of its media. I try to catch up with everything. But the reason that I joined these collision reviews and I love talking about it so much is because the recipe is just so simple, so old school, and so classic. You elevate everyone on the show, you put over the younger guys, you have a couple solid matches, and then you give these two men the last 30 minutes and let them go fucking nuts. And that's what they did here. I mean, it's simple. So like I said, sometimes less is more, and sometimes it's really the most simple things are what get you there. And I've heard a lot of negative remarks from a lot of wrestling content creators that I really respect, saying that these main events do not need to be 30 minutes, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, just because you guys are sitting in the comfort of your home doesn't mean that they don't need to send this crowd home happy. And when I go to wrestling shows, guess what? I want to watch wrestling, not them talking in the fucking ring for 2.5 hours. If I did that, I'd go watch Monday Night Raw. But I'm not watching Monday Night Raw. I'm watching Collision, damn it. So with that being said, I loved it. You already talked about the best sequence in the entire match, obviously paying homage and alluding to the Radar Superstar. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Darby Allin being a guy that just shuts me up more and more every time he's in the ring. I mean, I was one of those people that was kind of programmed by WWE to kind of look at him and kind of scoff and almost in a way and be like, I'm supposed to take this guy seriously? But this guy is probably one of the most dynamic in-ring workers in the world right now. I mean, he's just absolutely crazy. He throws himself at the wall with almost no accord. People could talk about there being no longevity behind it. Personally, I could care less. I loved it. I thought it was great. What did you guys think?
Gary, you go, mate.
So one thing I love about my AEW page on Facebook is a lot of fans that support my page send me photos of certain shows. Well, this one in particular had a lot of people buzzing for this main event. It's just a lot of people that did reach out for me that attended to the show for this main event. Absolutely loved it. So I get it, people have their own little taste on, whatever they like. But when there is a main event always like a half hour or just a little less than a half an hour, to me, that doesn't bother me just because, if the storyline makes sense, why it's into the main event, cool. And I'm just going to say this really quick as well. Christian, listen to this podcast because we will say you are absolutely fucking gold, my man. Like, how awesome after the match, Darby gets taken down. Tony Schiavone had to make the 1, 2, 3. Like, it's just, this is why I know I'm so sorry to bring this up for everybody that listens. I can't help it. This is why I want to see Adam Copeland in AEW joining Christian. We could see stuff like this again. This.
Don't apologize. I'm drinking their tears, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see what that crowd's got to say when it actually does happen. Because really, like, I know, and the reason I say don't apologize is because Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson showing up at All Out should have been enough to be like, why not? But I guess we need to see Edge show up too, just to put this narrative to bed. But continue. I'm sorry. Just had to get that in there.
It's all good, Parker.
Just a little bit on this match, guys. It's something that AEW kind of fell into accidentally in terms of JR coming out and just calling the main event. I think originally he was lined up as doing the whole show with Kevin Kelly and Nigel, but I think bringing JR out for the main event worked so well. It's done that the last 2 weeks. And I really hope they continue with that same format because
David, it's like JR and any Attitude Era superstars like rum and Coke. It's that familiar taste, familiar smell. I mean, it just works out. It's a total package. That's a great point by you right there.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed that, and I think Kevin Kelly and Nigel have got such great chemistry. It would be harsh to say that JR would ruin that. I'm sure as a 3-man booth, they would be fine. But I really love the 2-man team and JR coming out for the main event. I think he elevated the match. JR still got a lot to offer. I know that I don't think he's got too long left on his contract, has he, Gary? But I'm hoping they retain him and kind of carry on this situation.
I think JR is certainly going to resign. You know, a lot of people say, well, he needs to retire where he came from. But at the same time, when you hear JR on JR Grillin podcast, he always literally praises Tony Khan and that company so much, how much they have taken care of him. So if he does resign, even if he does the backstage things where, you know, the interview that he had with Kenny Omega on Wednesday, put him in something like that. Put him in that main event commentary match, something. Because I do agree with you. When JR is on the mic, I'm not going to lie. When he's on to the main event matches and doing that for commentary, it really elevates, you know, not only the show to how it should end, but the talent as well. Just because, you know, JR, like him or not, with some of the botches that he's had in this commentary for AEW, he is a fucking legend in this business. I absolutely love JR. But like I said, I think JR really, again, you know, just, overall, really good main event. Collision, I feel this week was better than last week.
Cool. So. Well, I was going to ask, we forgot to give our rating for the show last week, so I didn't want to forget this week. I'll go first. I thought this was a really solid show, and I tend to give solid shows an 8 out of 10, and I think that's where it sits for me. You know, I've seen better collisions perhaps, but I thought this was, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this was bad by any means. This was great. It's more of a reflection on AEW and some of the things and some of the matches I've seen and what they're capable of that I like to leave a little bit of scope to give the 9s and 10s. So I'm going to go for an 8 this week. Parker, we'll come to you. What was your rating? What was your overall thoughts on the show this week and your rating out of 10?
Oh man, so we're going to be a wrestling podcast that doesn't just talk out of their ass and actually has them hold themselves accountable with ratings. That's an interesting concept. So with that being said, really glad you didn't ask me this last week because obviously I was very much at the event. I probably would have given it way too high of a rating. I thought this collision hit all the story beats exceptionally well. I thought you had a great in-ring leading all the way to the main event. So I'm a lot like you. I'm going to tend to be a little bit more conservative just because while this was good and quality and cohesive programming, I still feel like this wasn't the best we're going to see out of Collision. So I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10 in totality. I still thought it was a really fun, eventful show. And I was sitting there at home watching it, and I was kind of like, you know, honestly, if I was at this event, I would have went home happy. I would have felt like I got my money's worth. So 7.5 out of 10.
Cool. Gary?
Yeah, from minute to minute, second to second, I really enjoyed this one. For sure, like I said, way better than last week. Again, Collision, just the storyline progression, just everything just connects beautifully with the show. Yeah, there was a little meh moments, but a lot of positive for sure. So I'm going to give it a 7.8 out of 10. I'm going to give it a solid B. But yeah, really, really good show overall.
Yeah, obviously.
And, you know, in closure,
go
just real quick. This isn't a situation where it's like a Monday Night Raw and we're just seeing the same matches, but just like a different combination of individuals week after week after week. Like, I feel like we're seeing progression in these storylines organically as the weeks go by. They give you a reason to kind of just tune in and be like, all right, what's going to happen with this? And it's not.
I think we lost Parker. He'll be back in a minute. I just wanted to add, really, normally if we're getting 3 squash matches, which we kind of did, we got 2 squash matches and we had the opening segment, which was a no contest, really. Obviously, it was the Punk angle. I would normally say that that's too much, 1 squash match per show. But because the storyline development was so good in all 3 angles, it's hard to criticize it, really. But carry on what you were saying, Parker. Sorry, we lost you there for a second.
No, that's completely fine. That's my fault. Like I said, I'm driving right now. But, you know, like I said, it doesn't feel like a house show circuit where we're seeing the Judgment Day take on 3 random baby faces from Raw. Like, it feels like every single segment has a purpose, and it feels like the storylines are naturally progressing every week. It's not a book that I already know what's going to happen in every chapter. It just makes me want to keep turning the page. even if it's once a week, I know I'm going to get quality storytelling. And I think that's really important to the older audience and to the more hardcore IWC community because, you know, we're not programmed. We think for ourselves and we honestly enjoy it through a different lens. So at no point throughout Collision's entire duration have I felt like, you know, they're telling us what to think or, you know, kind of resting on their laurels too much. If anything, I feel like they've given us something new, intriguing, and interesting every week enough to keep you looking forward to the next show without almost giving us too much, if you know what I mean.
Awesome, man. I really like that take, Parker. I think you're absolutely spot on. Guys, that brings us to the end of the Collision review, but I know, Gary Joe, you've got some discussion points for us this week, which I'm more than happy to jump into and dive in and have a good discussion with you guys about. Parker, I think, are you still okay for time? Are you okay to hang around and have more of a chat with us about this? We may have...
hold on. It cut off at Parker.
Oh, you're back. Yeah, Parker, we're going to have a bit of a discussion about just some AEW news that Gary Joe's been made aware of. Are you free to discuss them with you? I know you're on the way somewhere. Yeah, I think Parker's going for a bad signal area, perhaps. Gary, if you want to make a start, I'll throw to you. We'll switch roles and you can become the host. Hopefully Parker's still with us. He can hear us and he can chime in. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, everybody. Let's talk about the most important thing that happened for AEW this week. How amazing is it knowing that we are wrestling fans, that we get to rejoice some really good stuff with the record being broken for the all-time attendance record. I want to just ask you gentlemen, like we will do pretty much the round table thing here. Like knowing a 4-year-old company broke this record is quite remarkable. And again, I'm thinking as a fan, not just an AEW fan. This is great for all wrestling. I'm just tired of people saying, well, not necessarily because WrestleMania 40 just sold 90,000 tickets. And that's where I pause because, yes, they did. But that's 45K night. That is not 80,000, probably 81,000 at this point for one night. Like, we could say what we want about the card, but this is why I think, Dave, you know, this is why I'm all positive with AEW, because I think with the positives for this company, I mean, people were uncertain what the card's going to look like or whatever could happen, but that's not stopping people from buying tickets. I am so damn happy for this company, bro. I remember absolutely giving this company a chance with Cody and Dustin Rhodes, Double or Nothing 2019. That kind of synced me in with AEW, and I was thinking, okay, I want to see what this company can do. Sure, things have changed over the years, you know, but again, knowing that they broke the record is I think people that doesn't give AEW a chance, I think they should take a moment and realize, okay, I'm so happy there is another alternative out there. You know,
absolutely.
Be happy for the talent. Most importantly, be happy for them because, you know, they're the ones that are going to pull out all the stops for this show. But I just cannot say it enough. I'm just so happy for this 4-year-old pissant t-shirt company, whatever it may be. But yeah, let's start off.
It cost Vince a lot more money to buy it now, wouldn't it? In response to Triple H's comment to Billy Gunn. Listen, I'm glad you've said this. A real positive way to kind of end the show and end our discussion today. It is absolutely phenomenal to do what they've done. If WWE would have sold out Wembley or damn near sold out Wembley, we wouldn't have heard the last of it. For AEW to do it, a secondary company, as Triple H put it in Cody's documentary, it's mind-blowing, to be honest. I've always known, and I think worldwide people know the fan base in the UK, but it's not just the UK fan base. It's people in Europe and other places that are just coming to London. I think this would have done the same in Germany and the same in Spain, or all across Europe. They could have put this show on and it would have sold the tickets. The UK fans would have been as willing to travel as some of the German fans are that are traveling to London next weekend. This company has helped so many people from it's not just about entertainment. Some people go through some real difficult times in their life. I know I have. And wrestling for me has been something, it's been an escape. It's been a form of entertainment. It's been something that takes my mind off what's going on in my real life. And I can just zone out and watch some wrestling for a few hours. And I was really kind of disenfranchised from what I was seeing from the WWE at the time. Now, I still watch WWE pay-per-views. I've recently been watching Raw and SmackDown again. I totally appreciate that their demo or their target audience is a younger audience now. So some of the stuff that doesn't hit with me is simply because I'm not the target for it. Before AEW started, I had started to go to a number of indie shows, and I became accustomed with the Kenny Omegas, the Young Bucks, the Lucha Brothers, a whole host of other guys that have, they're in NXT and WWE. Pete Dunne, he's doing great now in WWE. I saw him on indie shows, on Fight Club Pro shows in the UK prior to AEW's launching, and that is what reinvigorated my love for wrestling. So when AEW formed, I couldn't have been happier, and I'm proud to say that I'm a wrestling fan, and I'm more of a wrestling fan now than I was 5 years ago, and that's because of AEW. So yeah, you'll get nothing but positive from me in terms of this company. I will critique and criticize and discuss things because I feel there's a responsibility to, and sometimes stuff doesn't go as planned or it doesn't go as well as it could have. But more often than not, it goes better than we could have ever expected. And that's usually been the case in my view and experience when I've come to watch AEW shows. Gary, I'll pass the mic back to you. I don't know if Parker's back with us, but I'll pass to you.
I'm with you.
Are you here, Parker?
And honestly, I got something to say about what you said.
Yeah, man.
So you talk about being disenfranchised with the professional wrestling product in general. I've only got a quick few points here, but as far as being disenfranchised, I couldn't agree more. I talked earlier about how it was almost an insult to your intelligence as a consumer what you were getting from WWE at one point. And I've said this almost ad nauseum. The only reason AEW exists is because of WWE's incompetence, and that's just the bottom line of the story here. One of our biggest clips we ever had that had the most impressions was when Andy had that just outrageous reaction to me saying that unless AEW sells out Wembley, John Cena doesn't fucking stroll out to the ring in his fucking jorts and basically beg for WrestleMania to be in the UK. And the whole reason I laughed in his face about it is because their fans are so programmed, so biased, and it's all they watch that they really think that is the end all, that it is the be all of absolutely everything. So with that being said, this offers an alternative to the people that don't have soft brains. To the people that are in the different demographic. Let me be nice about it. And with that being said, anyone who's got anything negative to say about it, I don't really think you love the business. I don't think you understand the business. I don't think you consume all of the business. And, it's a generational thing. Cool. But if you look at them selling out Wembley, anything other than just an absolutely historic landmark, then you don't actually care about the business. And that's just how I feel about it. Like you said, if this was WWE, look, man, we're already hearing constantly about how every city they go to, they're selling out every single gate. These premium live events are breaking records in this city, in that city, in this city, in that city. Bro, we're literally about to watch the biggest professional wrestling show of all time. And it's not happening inside of a WWE ring. So if that is not a testament to what they have accomplished in a small stride of only 3 or 4 years, the sky is just the limit with AEW. And I don't feel insulted as a consumer when I ingest it. And you talk about being disenfranchised. It's like with movies. I'd much rather watch a really good 1 hour and 30-minute indie movie that's just a quality film telling a quality story than sit there and watch a regurgitated piece of shit Transformers movie every summer and act like it's the best thing ever. But unfortunately, this is just the same shitty product that all these people grew up on, and it's all they consume and it's all that they watch. So if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, just understand it's okay to enjoy the alternatives of something if it's fulfilling you more than what you grew up on and what you were conditioned to. I mean, realistically, where do you guys think WWE would be right now if AEW did not exist? I mean, when Vince was in charge, it was almost a completely unfair advantage to AEW in regards to signing talent. I mean, AEW was on just a crazy track bringing in some of those free agents. Triple H obviously comes in, helps out the situation, and you know, we're talking a different WWE here. But what does that happen without AEW? So I feel like if you haven't given AEW your flowers now, you're never going to give it to them. But if you want to go out and continue to spread the hate, spread your quote-unquote gospel, just understand, we know you only watch WWE and you only like WWE, and that's okay. But at least be honest and don't sit here and patronize a dickhead to the people that actually like something different and actually like watching something that is quality and not something that's just some shitty, regurgitated reboot of what we've already seen not work for decades. Think about it. Wrestling's popularity has only gone down. Vince has been out of touch for so long, and I'm sorry. As time goes on, I don't know how much faith I have in his doofus son-in-law either. And yeah, I know you see what I did there. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, if you don't want to give them their flowers now, you're never going to give it to them. But that doesn't take away from the achievement that All In truly is. And you see the Cody documentary, that shit was propaganda, man. Let's be honest with ourselves. But I mean, I know I don't sound very positive here, but at the end of the day, I think this is we've been praying for times like this, man. I mean, this is a huge moment, an absolutely huge moment, and there's nothing but good things to say about it in total.
Awesome, man. Parker, I love your passion for pro wrestling and particularly AEW. I love reviewing this show with you two guys every week. Gary, I'm going to want to throw back to you. And you threw the question out. Oh, you've got more. I thought that was the... Okay, I'll let you go, man. Over to you.
MJF said it best. Parker's going to throw the nukes. I'm going to throw the bombs, the mines, whatever. Because what he said was the most amazing, sincere comments that I can hear from anybody. And that's not a knock on you, Dave. That's not a knock on me or anybody. Very passionate to AEW. This is the response that I'd love to hear from us. You know, I'm just going to say this right now. Okay, so a friend of mine messaged me, you know, she was watching SmackDown, and she supports all wrestling. Very happy for that. But she messaged me saying, well, that was very insecure. I'm like, what? Like, what's very insecure? She's like, oh, I think it's very funny that Corey Graves had to say that WrestleMania, you know, they broke a record from, not broke a record, but something about with 91,000 tickets for people purchasing for WrestleMania. Basically, what I'm getting at is people could say what they want about AEW, saying, well, it doesn't bother WWE. Really, when WWE knew that AEW broke that record, oh, so now we're going to throw, you know, we're going to throw something in the fire and saying, well, see, but they did not sell 91,000 tickets. You know, so that to me looks like WWE is a little second rate, in my opinion. I don't give a shit what anybody says. They are threatened by AEW. People could say, well, AEW, you know, they don't have the attendance. They don't have the money. They don't have this. Well, let's see. Okay. As you guys know, I am very, very... I feel like I'm an insider with AEW sometimes because how much homework I do for my page. You're going to see Warner Brother Discovery give AEW so much money for every signing. I think they're going to give them that streaming network, more profit into their company, just everything imaginable. And the reason why I have Danhausen's image behind me is because depending on not only the ticket sales, but the merchandise, pay-per-view buys, everything imaginable, listen to this, within 1 week, AEW could possibly get between $10 to $20 million in total revenue. How mind-blowing is that? I don't think WWE has ever done that. if my mind is actually gearing into that thought, because that is just a success alone for AEW. What does that do with all that revenue? Quite simple. You get better production. You get talents re-signed. You get so much of those really great stars that you love from WWE or whatever the promotion may be, even if it's Impact Wrestling, whatever it may be. I am just very enthusiastic with this company more than ever. Just because when you hear them do things like this, it's helping wrestling, and I just wish people could see that without being them trying to be, I'm sorry, but some WWE fans are like the Joe Biden, okay? And AEW fans could be Donald Trump, okay? I don't know who's a Trumper or a Biden, but hey, I'm going to go with Donald Trump because actually he did something right. But I do agree with Parker at the end of that statement too. I'm sorry, Dave.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking what you're talking about. Our fandom as we love AEW. As a lot of my friends got older with watching WWE, they stopped watching because they got older, and I suppose there comes to a point where even now guys get into the 30s and 40s and they stop watching wrestling. Me and you, Gary Joe, are a little bit older than Parker, admittedly. But as a 36-year-old, I'm more invested in wrestling now than I was 10, 15 years ago. And that is testament to AEW and what Tony Khan has done to the wrestling industry. So that kind of speaks volumes. I'm less likely to stop watching wrestling now than I was when I was 26.
Wow. Yeah, it's I bring up this story all the time when it comes to a certain wrestling fan, and that's actually my mother. Dude, she has not watched wrestling in 11 years until 2021. She actually was excited because, Sting was there, and she has not missed an episode of AEW television in 2 years. And she always says to me every single fucking Wednesday morning, she always has to text me, "Hey, is my girl on Anna Jay with Dynamite?" I'm like, "No." And then she's like, "Oh, I don't care. I'm still going to watch it anyway." Knowing that is bringing somebody back into wrestling, it's really cool. That's what AEW does. And I kind of like the little poke at the bear with Triple H with Parker when he said that statement, because I'm sorry, but I feel it's been off balanced with him, and I think he's going to have that mentality of Vince. Why do I say that? Well, quite simple. I'm sorry, you're AEW, yeah, okay. You're WWE Women's World Champion that you made the Women's World Champion from WrestleMania. Great, everybody's happy. I love Rhea Ripley, okay? I think all of us do. Very, very bad booking, okay, Triple H. Just saying. Not saying Tony's not any better, but hey, what do I know? Again, I'm just
honestly, let's put a bow on this now. The same people who are criticizing tried and true, if their friends will start a business, is this how you would treat your friend who was starting a business? This is the level of support you show them? You'd microanalyze everything and nitpick and just condescending and be critical? No, you'd be supportive of them. And the further along that they got and the bigger and the more corporate they got, it leads to more money, which leads to more success. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like the people that are just nitpicking AEW, don't want to see it succeed. And these are the same people that would watch Impact. These are the same people that go to independent wrestling shows. It makes no sense to me. There's just a huge flaw in the logic. And like I said, I think it's just a soft brain bias kind of thing. And I'm not even going to get into ratings. I'm not going to get into how they're booking people. It's just, it's almost a thinking error at this point. And it's almost like even conversing with those individuals isn't even worth your time, because they're a part of the reason that David was talking about stopping watching. Those were the same morons that were tuning in every Friday, every Monday, and watching it even when it was fucking awful, terrible. and you know exactly what programs I'm talking about. You know what storylines I'm talking about. I'm talking about the dark ages. I'm talking about the bad stuff. I'm talking about the unwatchable stuff. If a movie sucks or if a band's bad, you can leave. You are a consumer. So I'm a lot like you, David. My love has been revitalized. I enjoy watching it, and then I feel like I'm not wasting my time when I'm consuming this product. But a lot like a corporation, WWE has built its entire audience now off of generations, kind of feeding the same regurgitated, shitty processed food to each other. And there is an alternative, and you are willing to go out there and make that decision and make that choice and actually choose something that is, done with intent, done with purpose, and you can tell made with love. And that goes with all things, not just professional wrestling. And I don't know. I just wish more people would think for themselves instead of thinking about what they, instead of, believing what WWE wants you to believe. And it's all I'm working with those individuals because it's like one track mind kind of thing. And that's, I don't know. I'm passionate about it mainly because, David, I'm 26 years old myself. And, I can't tell you how damn close I was to stop watching before AEW started. Really. I mean, we were watching PL, it was awful. The storytelling was awful. It was like watching some old man with dementia play with his action figures. And it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. I can't tell you the last time I went to an event because they all feel that meaningless and that unimpactful. So, I don't know. I don't think there should be anything wrong with people having alternative.
Awesome. They were great closing statements too. We are running a little bit long. Gary, I'm going to give you a chance to just wrap things up and give you a kind of summary on things and your anticipation towards what we're going to get next week. Obviously, with how busy it's going to be next weekend with All Out, I'm not sure what we're going to do collision-wise. We'll figure that out in the next few days. But Gary, your closing comments on this week in wrestling and obviously what we're going to be seeing next week.
So yeah, we got some really, really good stuff, going on for AEW this week. I mean, damn, we have probably, I'm gonna predict it right now, probably one of the best Dynamites today. That card is just
looks very, very
fire. I mean, you could definitely tell Tony is getting the help.
That looks like a go-home show.
It really does, man. And I'm just like Parker. I don't want to talk about the whole rating thing, but I will say Dynamite has been #1 on Wednesday 6 weeks in a row. So I'm very happy for that. I'm going to see this for another win for them being #1 on Wednesday. This card is fire, man.
Awesome.
But we got that going on, and dude, 7 more days. I really can't wait.
Well, we'll definitely catch up before then. And as I say, we'll figure something out with Collision. But we'll leave it there for now. We've just lost Parker again. Maybe he's got to wherever he was driving to. It might have been his signal, though. But Gary, just want to thank you for your help this week on the show. Everybody watching, head over to Gary's Facebook page, Honor the Elite. It is the best AEW site/page that you will find anywhere online. Please go over, hit like, see what he's doing over there. He's got a lot of cool things going on. He did a women's roundtable last week, which was really cool to see. Probably the only wrestling page that I've seen do anything of the sort, to be honest. He got 4 female fans on, and they sat around and they did what we're doing now and what we love to do, and they taught wrestling. So, Gary, keep up the great work. Look forward to this every single week, and I'll speak to you soon. But for now, I must bid you adieu. Buckle down, and stay safe. Bang.